Wednesday, October 7th, I'm in the office of Charlie Angus, MP for Timmins, James Bay, and NDP critic for culture. Um, Last weekend, we were treated to the spectacle of Stephen Harper singing A Little Help from My Friends with the help of the NAC Orchestra uh, in the light of what the Conservative government has done for arts funding and the attitudes that Stephen Harper has expressed for towards the arts and arts funding. I'm wondering how you, Charlie Angus, respond to Stephen Harper's performance on the weekend.
Well, I think I look at it from 2 points of view. One, in terms of what it's done with Mr. Harper, is probably the single smartest thing this guy's ever done. You look at last summer where he came out with that really personal and vitriolic attack on arts and gala funding, and it hurt him. He potentially lost the majority on that. Being a nice guy doesn't come natural to him. He must have worked at it. But I want to compliment him. He sang great. I think it's great. He got up and did it, sang "A Little Help from My Friends." It was kind of funny. I guess there was a amusing line. I was wondering whether, my personal favorite is "I Am the Walrus," but I don't think I always thought John was the walrus, and they say Paul was. Stephen is definitely not the walrus. He could have sung "Fool on the Hill," but that might be mean, or sung a song for Ignatieff, "Real Nowhere Man." But I could live with "A Little Help from My Friends."
How does the good vibrations of Stephen Harper's performance on the weekend compare with the reality for artists in Canada?
I think the thing that needs to be pointed out is that Mr. Harper now saying, "I like artists. I want to be warm to them. I'm going to put my blue sweater on." And again, I'm not. I think it was great that he sang, but they just cut the musical diversity fund. They're saying, "Well, we didn't take the money away. We're giving it to another area of arts." They're giving it to Factor, to basically the recording industry. What they're cutting, though, is the development program for new music, new classical, jazz, folk, groups that are not getting the big industry funding. And I'm amazed that they did this, and there's been a big backlash in the artistic community because people are saying, what is it that this government has in for the arts? They don't seem to understand what it takes to create a truly national and, by extension, international arts identity.
And there have been a series of cuts, I guess, too. Can you just enumerate some of the others?
The biggest cuts we've seen to the arts was the really surprising attack on the promotion internationally, the ability to tour Canadian products. As a musician, I can tell you it's really, really difficult for Canadian artists, whether they're in dance, theatre, or music, to maintain a career in Canada, because our markets are so spread out. We're victims of our geography. So for, say, the Montreal Ballet to survive, they have to have those European tours lined up. Every country in the Western world supports international touring and promotion of arts, except Canada. Mr. Harper is wrong-headed in that. We need a real commitment to move beyond what the Conservatives like to do, which is to be seen cutting checks and taking the credit. We need long-term support for the infrastructure of arts so that artists can create their product, and the role of government is to make sure that the infrastructure is there to get it out, whether it's on CBC radio, whether it's to have it in the touring programs, and development of new music and new arts. That's where we need government.
And I guess there's a strong role that you see for development of new artists and esoteric or less commercial kinds of art.
What concerns me about the cuts to the musical diversity fund, the Conservatives are trying to spin it. Listen, we just don't have the money to support people who don't want to have a career. We want to support the successful. We don't need to be creating more Britney Spears. What we need in Canada, and this is where we've always been, so recognized internationally, is we need to support smaller alternative artistic voices, whether it's in magazines or whether it's in music, so that they can develop and they can become the next frontier. For example, Alex Cuba, who's now writing with Nelly Furtado. He got his start with one of these musical diversity fund projects. He would not have been able to probably get funding elsewhere because it was different music, it was new music, and it wasn't something that the industry promotion groups like Factor probably would have supported. But now this guy is a national treasure, and he's working his way internationally.
And I guess it's a similar situation with the magazine funds, which I guess funding has been cut from some of the smaller artistic magazines.
I ran a magazine for 12 years, and I can tell you that if you've got a subscription base of 2,000, you're very successful in terms of being a voice for the many regions of this country, for the many different voices. Simply supporting the few big magazines is a wrong-headed approach. It creates a genetic monocropping of ideas, and it lessens the overall integrity of our magazine system. So once again, we see the Conservatives, they don't get it. They think that they're being business-minded, and they're not, because they don't understand the business of arts. And that's my challenge to them as an artist, as a writer, as a musician, as a publisher. I want to say, we're not talking about handouts to artists. We're talking about what are the basic building blocks you need to create a truly successful arts industry, and these guys just don't get that.
The NDP keeps talking about trying to make this minority parliament work. Do you think that there are places you actually can work with the Conservatives to forge some legislation that's actually going to help artists?
I've been very positive about the role that the NDP play at the Heritage Committee. Our chair is a Conservative. Gary Schellenberger and I have had excellent relations for 5 years. We've worked together to maintain that committee focused on issues of artists so that we're not just a bickering ground for the four parties. I've worked with the Conservatives on the Local Television Improvement Fund. We had many arguments that went many hours, but I felt that there was movement that we could make to improve that. Have we gone as far as we need to? No, certainly not. But in a minority parliament, we're going incrementally. I will continue to work at the Heritage Committee with members of the Bloc, members of the Liberals, and members of the Conservatives. And I do believe we can start to bring forward some positive change for artists. But the fundamental problem at the end of the day is this is a government that has been very ambivalent or hostile to the arts, regardless of getting up and singing at the National Arts Council Centre.
Charlie Angus, I know you have a vote to get to. I'll thank you for your time today.
Well, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be on Straight Goods.